everybody, we are here in Group Underworld, Grupo Inframundo, with another magic interview, another terrific interview with one director of a movie that is, wow, it's just incredible. You will cry, you will be terrified, you will be amazed by all the effects, visual effects, the creatures, all kind of stuff. Yeah, that's right. We are talking about the movie Moon Garden that you can watch it on Shudder, a streaming service, the best streaming service for horror movies and monsters, creatures. You need to watch it. If you are watching this video in Mexico, well, my advice is go buy a VPN. I recommend CyberGhost VPN. That's a really good VPN. And check Shudder, because yeah, you need to have Shudder if you are a horror maniac. If Shudder knows that Mexico likes horror movies, they will bring it sometime. I think that's the dream. So yeah, remember 26 Moon Garden on Shudder. And here we have Aaron Navarro, the partner, the sexiest guy in Mexico City. He will join us in this magic interview.
I don't know if I'm the second guy, but I like to do interviews. So yeah, I think it's an advantage. Thank you very much.
And here we have the special and honored guest of this video, this interview, is Ryan Harris, the director, the writer, the visual effects guy in Moon Garden. That's right, Ryan Harris. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, a pleasure to be here. What a great title you got, Aaron, the sexiest man. So
Yeah.
It's almost unbearable, man.
But yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So and really great to connect. So yes.
No, it's awesome having you here. We watch your film in Morbido Fest, which is an incredible festival. If you are in Mexico, it is incredible to watch all the horror movies that Dead brought us, and one of them was Moon Garden in 2023, and was awesome. I will like to ask you, this particular movie, when I watched the trailer, and when I watch all the teasers, posters, stuff like that, I kind of remember like this horror 80s family vibes, but really dark, like the never-ending story, a little bit like Dark Crystal, mostly Alice, the stop motion live action that it is a Russian, I think it's Russian movie, yeah. It got
from,
it,
from
it
Jan from Jans Bankmeyer, yeah.
That's right, yeah, that's right. And with this little girl and the stop motion, so I really remind me a lot of that kind of movies. I don't know if you were inspired like in that kind of movies, or if you got any inspiration. If you, when you make the script, do you think about animation, or do you think straight to live action but a little bit with a lot of combinations like it is a movie? What was that inspiration at the start?
So I mean, you name all those movies. I mean, some of the most interesting cinema that really left a mark on me was movies that I saw when I was a kid that might have been maybe a little too dark to see, that really left a scar in my mind. And I always really gravitated towards those kind of films. It almost seemed like I vaguely remember a movie about like a princess who had to make all these sweaters for all of her brothers, or I remember sequences in like Return to Oz, or Dot and the Kangaroo, like this weird sequence with the Bunyip monster. There are all these older films from that kind of era that just left a real mark. And I always felt like Moon Garden was kind of leaning into that, where it was like a film that was about a child. It kind of deals with the magic of youth, and the parents trying to maybe rekindle that. The mother character literally yearns for like this kind of lost youth, and but that might be a little too dark for a child to see. But yeah, like you mentioned, never-ending story and things like that. But when I was writing the script, I really just originally the script didn't have any dialogue, believe it or not. It was very, very short. I wasn't going to have any dialogue. It was just going to be a silent film driven entirely by images and have it be like this experience that you go on. But I found a lot of inspiration from being a dad, our own little situation there at home, and giving it a real kind of emotional core with the little dysfunctional, broken family unit. That the magic of how the child sees things, bringing everybody together at the end and literally filling the darkness with her blinding light. And so it really just flew out of me, which I think a lot of at least the stuff that I do, the stuff that I really gravitate towards tends to just go. And so that's kind of the genesis of the project. The way that how you realize stuff. I would just write, and then me and our creative team here, my producer, John Elfers, we would get on the phone and we would figure out the best ways to do this. We used a lot of camera tricks. We borrowed from, old film masters, ways to. It was really important for us to create everything in camera. We really, really, really wanted it to be this world that you could reach out and touch. And so there were a lot of different ways that we went about doing that. And sometimes when the sequences were so complicated, like when the Emma character, the little girl, goes up on the cloud, for instance, we really had to figure out interesting ways of doing it, And so we did from when we would do the big rhino character that she rides through the desert. We looked at a lot of forced perspective and using the old Gilliam lens, like Terry Gilliam, to make the thing look enormous. That thing was all constructed by our special effects makeup artist, Rachel Wagner. It was enormous. It had to be transported in a truck. Her and her creative partner were literally like puppeteering the thing out in the middle of in the Salton Sea, where it's like 115 degrees in the middle of summer. And so but I think that that kind of tactile quality really shows. And it's just interesting because now everything is there's this whole push for AI and digital effects, and I work a lot in the studio world where everything is shot on volume stages or blue screen, and that is wonderful. You can do a lot of stuff with that, but I still feel like there's this magic that people call Moon Garden like lo-fi, and that's fine, but I still feel like these kind of effects, like Neverending Story, like the movies from the 80s, they have this charm, and it really holds up and transports you into like this whole other world where I feel like there are limitations to blue screen and volume stages where you're not making every choice. Instead, it's up to an animator, and they're incredibly talented in their own right, but it's almost like disembodied, and it can become very cold to me. But I guess that's the short answer of the genesis of the project and how we actualized some of the different effects that we had to do. So
it's magic, everything that you just said in very perspectives. I think this movie, what the biggest thing that I love about this movie is that first of all, the organic like screenwriting. When I was on script classes, screenwriting classes, every teacher tells you like, hey, it's okay to put dialogues, right? But you need to watch it. What you watch is telling you something. You don't need to tell the viewer what is happening. We got this. There is a lot of movies that have this problem about they need fourthly to make you understand, like they talk a lot of dialogues. But if the visual is telling you more and you're understanding this with the visual, it is more effective, it is more organic. And that's incredible because with this movie, like Alice, the movie that we just talked about it has less dialogues than many movies, and also the dialogues that are in the movie are really are like, like are organic. It's more like the world that the girl it is. For me, is the purgatory. I don't know, kind of it, but with his imagination, with his dream, innocence. There is no too many words in that world, but in the real world, where there is the parents and the discussion and the discussions and all that kind of stuff, there is a lot of words, but really loud, you know. But in this world, there is no words, there is no shouting, there is just innocence. And the visuals that you see there is like, this is like a dream, like a dream and a nightmare. So for me, it's incredible because not you only just make this with the screenwriting, but also in the visual, you make the magic like Jim Henson. You are like creating this new world. And that's something incredible and beautiful, because many movies have a lot of this stuff right now, that digital effects and the green effect, like the scenography is everything not practical, but you're creating a world. And when you watch this, all the person sees this is the world of the girl. So I think that's the magic of the practical effects, and that's the magic of the 80s and the animatronics, that everything makes you feel like this is real. For me, it was like that. I don't know, what do you think about it, Aaron? But I think it was like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about those two aspects I'm gonna ask you about, Ryan. First of all, the world, of course, the creation of the world. For me, it was going into the subconscious of a little girl with this that has this magical view, and sometimes very twisted. I mean, about the monsters, exactly referring to teeth, which I love the design, by the way. It reminded me of the Joker. I think it's in oh no, the Batman Who Laughs. I remember that one. Kind of that guy. But anyways, I was talking about this experience. For me, it was the subconscious of the girl, the girl that is experiencing this shock about the reality, but inside her own mind. So how was the work of creation about this subconscious, especially because she is the heart. I mean, Emma is the heart of everything. She's our guide. What we see, what she expresses on her looks, is what we also perceive. It's not a non-verbal language that it's magnificent. And also the obvious question, well, it's Heavenly, it's your daughter. So how was working with her inside of that complicated and sometimes deranged subconscious world that was created around her?
So I always thought of the world as as just a dark mirror of reality. So it was taking things that she experienced in her life, and then creating this soup. Like not necessarily a one to one, but there's a lot of like visual references that she sees in the real world that are then mirrored in the dream world, and it's not necessarily like this means that and this means that. So it's almost like this soup that stews in her mind. She's turned like you mentioned the teeth character. Uh, we were hearing something inside the walls, and I was sure it was a raccoon. I went up into the small attic up there, but it sounded like a pair of chattering teeth behind the wall. So then in the film, it's like, we have the dad go and hunt it down, and then she's basically created this nightmare that's following her around, just based all off of that. That's literally like devouring her sadness or her negative emotions, everything. It's just feeding on it. And so working with my daughter Haven was just, I mean, the best thing I could ever ask for. I mean, I can't describe how wonderful it was. For me, selfishly, like I work on movies, and it's like you're gone for 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Here I was able to do this thing with my daughter, with my wife. She was a co-producer, with my best friend. He was the producer. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better experience. And you know, I mean, so she would come over on the weekends, and we would spend all this time building out these practical sets. And so it was almost like I would build, oh, this weekend you're going to crawl through this mucus infested tunnel, and just pretend like it like stinks, and everything is sticky, and here she is, she's 7 years old. She's coming out every weekend, and it's like I would build this playground for her. There was stuff where she had to get really emotional, and that's just all her being in the moment and reacting in a way that I think a lot of actors wish they could get back to. Is that kind of like childlike, in the moment reactiveness. I would always tell Haven, like, we're gonna play pretend, but let's like do our best to make it real. And that's the trick, right? So let's do our best to make it real. We're playing pretend, but we're going to do our best to make it real. It really helps when again, we talk about the practical stuff. It really helps when she can come in and like, okay, we have a bucket with polystyrene around it, and she's floating in in 2 feet of water while I'm like piloting the raft, next to her that's covered in leaves. She doesn't have to she can just fall right into the world. And so I just, it was just a real pleasure to do it. I mean, I wish every movie I worked on was something with such a close knit group. And certainly it was just a really rewarding experience with my daughter. But there are a few scenes where she has to emotionally break down. There were things that we did to help her with that. Like, we would shoot it in the morning, and maybe she's just like, often with child actors, it's like you act with a capital A. And so you're like, okay, you're yearning for home, right? We shoot it in the morning, and she's like, whatever, oh, boo-hoo, a lot of sniffling stuff. You shoot it late in the afternoon when she wants to go home, and then suddenly it just is, just incredible. The problem with that one take, when she starts to actually cry, we shot on 35 millimeter and the film rolled out. And so my cinematographer is literally quickly reloading the magazine onto the BL. Finally, we get it up and running, and we just start running in the middle of the take, and she's just like doing amazing stuff. And so, and then when we call cut, she just snaps right out of it. She couldn't be happier. And yeah, and again, it was me and my wife on set. And so it's, yeah, it was just a real magical time. And so hopefully, hopefully I get to do something else with her is all I hoped. So yeah, she's still acting. I mean, she's in the stage play of Annie. She's playing Annie. And she's been in, multiple films since then. And so she just keeps wanting to do it, which is, I mean, acting is hard. So we must have done something right.
That's great. I love the part of the creation of that scene, because I think that's exactly one of the most emotional scenes in the movie, and it's an essential part of the storytelling. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, and we just try to keep her performances as reactive as possible. Often, like, we would shoot just slight slow-mo, just so if she did have a moment, we could draw it out in the edit if we had to. Almost everything of hers was in slight slow-mo. I would always have different videos queued up on my phone. I'd be like, this is a video of a real mermaid. And then we would put it on top of the camera and slowly push in. And she would be like looking at it if we needed like something for wonder or something like that. If we needed her to laugh, we would cue up something really silly, often with her crew member, with the cast partner, whoever she's working the scene with. So we just tried to make it so that she was in that moment, and I almost wish all of the actors were just like in the moment and in the world fully. And I had a lot of discussions with a lot of the cast, and react state, which is just so magical. So
No, that's magical. I think a lot of things in in this movie are not even the movie. It's just magical. The experience, the behind the scenes of this movie, it's magical too. So that's that's incredible. I got another question that is about screenwriting. There is like always kind of something that the screenwriter it is like putting in the script about, like, I don't know, like in the past, about their past story, like experiences of life. When I think this will be like the experience of when you were like a child, like the childhood. I don't know. Do you got any inspiration about your past when you were developing the story? Because I mean, the innocence, the imagination, and also the this part about the discussions of the parents. I don't know if it was something that you developed like in inspiration of your childhood, or if it is something that you watch in a lot of families, because it has a lot of empathy. This movie, in when I don't know, when every person has been a child and has had these parents discussing and shouting. Did you give like a piece of yourself in this script, like in your experience in the past as a child, or it was more like, I don't know, like something that you have watched in a lot of families that you want to talk about it, watch the perspective of a kid?
yeah, well, I came from a big family. They were very, very, uh, my dad was a doctor, my mom was an artist. So it's like there were two sides to the brain there. Now it was, I think all families have problems. And to say that, my mom wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night and start, packing everything up or throwing clothes out the window. I mean, things happen, very, very supportive, but, it's just how things are. I just tried to make it as honest and not contrived as possible. And so with the parents, they're in a bad place, but I think the important thing is that they both love Emma very, very much. And so, maybe the dad feels underappreciated, maybe the mom feels unloved, and they're just trying to get back and it's this tragedy that kind of brings them back together. And so, and Augie Duke, who plays the mom, and Breon Davis, who plays the dad. I mean, they just did such a great job, like as their own family unit. I mean, I took family portraits of them before the film, to use in the picture, and they looked more of a family than me, my wife, and my daughter. So yeah, they looked like more of a unit, a visual unit than we did. And so they brought a lot to it, and that's just so wonderful, because I really feel like it's the movie starts in this dark place, but hopefully by the end there's like this catharsis, and you feel like some of the characters are somewhat redeemed through the child's eyes. And so I borrow always from my life. I mean, you work on, especially if you're writing the movie, you're putting all this time into it. It's like, why do anything? I mean, why would you do anything else? It's like you're going to spend so much time and you're going to put so much love into it, and you just want it to come from an honest place. I saw a random quote the other day where it's like, when people talk about their art, it's like a journal entry. And I really feel like that's something to kind of go by, especially with a film that you're going to write and you're going to do everything. It's like, it should just be this kind of thing where you bury yourself a little bit, and so hopefully there's a little bit of that in there. The movie is, yeah, like you said, incredibly visual, but yeah, the heart of it is very, very personal, certainly.
That's great. Um, I have another question because I know that's a lot of visuals and are not much dialogues, but I know there's a part that we all empathize and we all recognize in this film, which is the song "Without You." And the cover of that way you made with that Samuel Look and Lucy Oakes make for it. Uh, how was it? When did you decide to put that song on? Why do you think it's so important for the narrative? Because I think it is. It gets on a high level until the end. That well, and I do agree with what you said that it starts in a dark place, and it kind of gives us this little bit of hope at the end. It's like a dark fantasy turned into a beautiful fantasy at the end. But tell me about the importance of the song "Without You." When did you thought about using it? Why did you decided it? And of course, what do you think about the cover? Because I think it's wonderful. It's so emotional.
Yeah. The music in general. So I worked with a composer named Michael Darragon. He didn't do the "Without You" cover, but he did the entire film and really gave it its atmosphere and vibe. And I couldn't say enough good things about the guy. The score was almost borderline sound design at times, then came back and became full-on melodic score. We did pipe drones. We did different kind of like gas things. He was always just very faithful to the world. The song "Without You," my brother actually did as an arrangement. So he's Lucas Harris, or Summon Luke. And I was looking for like a angelic voice. No, not an angelic voice, just like a mother's lullaby voice to help bring the lyrics. And he recommended a local artist, Lucy Oakes, to come sing. She actually doesn't do a lot of singing, so this is like her biggest thing that she's ever done, and suddenly she's in a full-on motion picture doing this song in the end credits. But it's a song "Without You" by Badfinger. Harry Nilsson did it. Mariah Carey has done it. To me, we just slowed the track way down and gave it a lot of air. And it's the lullaby that the mother sings. And it was always just really important for me for that to kind of be a thread back into the real world. So when when Emma, the little girl, comes across this musician character, it's almost like he then reworks the song as this music box when she's in like her worst place, right? There's a point in the movie where it's like 25 minutes in where Emma is pulled underwater. She's like almost gonna drown. I feel like the whole audience is like, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into? We're gonna watch this poor little girl. And suddenly she explodes out of the water, comes across this musician character who builds this instrument out of destruction, and then plays the lullaby that her mom used to sing on this old alien instrument. And the mother's voice is like filtered through the old decrepit transistor radio, and it like lets her know that everything's gonna be okay. And it's just this warm blanket of a track, which is interesting because to me the lyrics are, you can interpret them as pretty sad, like I can't live if living is without you. But to me, it always felt like this kind of motherly siren call that's like bringing the little girl back to them. And there was a lot to bring that that whole sequence together. I mean, when we were shooting the musician, my producer John was still trying to secure the rights to the song. So we were like shooting the sequence on 35 millimeter with all these cameras sunk up to the track that my brother had done, and we didn't even have rights to the track. So a lot of stuff had to work out for us to secure that and bring it to the screen. But yeah, I couldn't be happier. And thematically, I feel like the song is so perfect. It's got this lullaby vibe to it, but it like and it has a melancholy tone, but to me, ultimately, it's uplifting. It's just saying that, like you're the thing that's going to bring me back, and so to me, that's like how the parents are calling to her on the little transistor radio. In the film, the little girl's following her parents' voice on this old transistor radio. It's the only communication she has with the real world, and she's following the signal to the tower, to the place that she knows that she needs to go. And so it's almost like her little yellow brick road, right, leading her home. That radio is like a thread that she's following. So but yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I mean, yes, I couldn't be happier with the song, and I was really aggressively trying to get it, and I feel so grateful that we were able to get the rights there.
It's incredible. I have to confess in this interview to all the guys that are watching this, I cry a lot on the credits with the song. I was like, but that's incredible. I mean, it touches the heart. This movie talking about heart, about the heart. I think horror, the genre of horror, even any kind of movie of horror, I think they are made with a lot of heart. Even the when you are creating the practical effects, you are creating the monsters, the scares, the every kind of stuff. It is with heart. But the thing is that you can make a lot of combinations with horror. You can have like a horror to scare a lot, and you got this horror comedy. You got these like slashers, gore, fan footage, every kind of horror stuff. But what for me is incredible, it's when you can do this combination about horror and drama with a little bit of love, like having this kind of message of love. And I think your film has this message of love. There are a lot of movies that I think this guy have this message of love, such as, I don't know, we can go to the 30s with Frankenstein, of the Bride of Frankenstein. That those movies that have a lot of heart. And we can go with David Lynch, The Elephant Man, which has this message of love. I mean, it's really, you suffer a lot with that movie, but it has this message of love. For you, what do you think about this message of love in horror movies? Because many movies are make like a critique, which is awesome. I think it's incredible when a horror movie also makes a good critique. But I think your movie gives that message of love. For me, it's incredible, and I think it's unique. And not everyone can do it, but you do it. So I don't know. What do you think about it? And what do you think about these incredible combinations that you can make with the horror movie or with the horror subgenres?
So when we were making Moon Garden, I always thought of it as a dark fantasy film. I didn't think of it as a horror movie necessarily. I knew that there were going to be horror elements, but I mean, in everything I've ever done, I always love to have a little bit of a dark bend to it. So that's what's so great about anything that's genre or horror or whatever you want to call it, is that it's just such a wide net. It's such a wide net, and we were so fortunate to go to cool festivals like Morbido, like Stitches, like all these great genre festivals that just show just such a fantastic, diverse array of different kinds of films that I don't always feel like I get with certainly not the tentpole mainstream movies. But when I was making Moon Garden, I always thought of it as a dark fantasy. People would sometimes have a hard time with it, like, okay, well, what are you thinking? And I would always just say, I would describe it as an industrial Alice in Wonderland. So I would, or a twisted Alice in Wonderland is how I would describe it, like the elevator pitch. And so people would sometimes always try to put it into the horror category, and I think that's fine. But I always felt of it more as like a dark fantasy film with these kind of with a horror bend to it. In terms of the themes, I mean, it's all just about broken family and lost youth and trying to find and trying to, let me see if I can put this succinctly, trying to, the way a child views the world. It's like at the end of the movie, right? She's describing her, I don't want to spoil too much, but she describes like her perfect day, right? And she's gone through all this fantastical stuff. She's gone and seen this and she's seen that and she's been through this, and instead of like she describes this magical day where the moon is smiling down on her, and there's frogs, they're skipping across the water, and lightning bugs are all over the place. But really it's just a day with her and her parents, and like they're just at the lake, and that's it. And it's just this simple thing that like she just wants everybody to be together, and that's it. And so to me, ultimately that's kind of what the movie is about, is finding beauty in these kind of things and finding magic in these kind of things, the same way that a child would. She's almost like an avatar for this kind of purity and light, where this empty void is following her around, trying to swallow her. And then at the very end, she just stares it right in the face and then fills the thing with, a blinding sunspot of light. And so that to me is, the central theme. It's nice that you read it all as that, because yeah, love is definitely, it's all families love, and that's also at its core. But really, it's like finding beauty in broken things, realizing that you can fix something that's broken, and then and trying to see light even in the darkest of situations. Those are probably those are certainly the things that I was really hoping to push with the ending, which gets really conceptual in a way. But yeah, I would, and what's so great is horror, genre, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, that big umbrella term is just so, I mean, there's so much style, and there's so many different niches, and there's such a variety of films that it's just a great palette. And I don't know, and I'm lucky because that's just the kind of stuff that I want to do, and there's a great audience for it that's just hungry for it, I think, out there, which is which I'm just very grateful that again, that we're able to get it out there to these different kinds of festivals. So hopefully I didn't round about too rambling at the end. So yeah, but I think I answered your question somewhere in there. So
No, yeah, it's incredible. I think, wow, I think if Jim Henson was alive, he will be your biggest fan because he
oh
loved a lot dark fantasy, and I think he was one of the masters in the 80s. So if
oh certainly,
Jim
yeah.
Henson will be your fan, surely. So I'm really happy of everything that you just said. It's just
Yeah,
inspirational.
Morgana, who plays the teeth character, Morgana Ignis, she actually does a lot of work with the Jim Henson Company, and so she did a lot of puppeteering. We had a bust made, we had the teeth, we had all kinds of different apparatus just to bring that one character to life. So yeah, we're obviously like standing on the shoulders of like old masters like that. So that's very flattering. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, Ryan, while talking about importance of the work and the risks that you took, you've been working as an editor before with the great industries. You work with Roland Emmerich. Uh, you've made also a long feature like Virus X a long time ago. But how does that experience of editing and making this first film to Moon Garden and creating the production of Fire Trial Films, which is gonna make a lot of projects, I hope, and also doing them, and I believe that's a statement that you have in your vision, making them only in 35 millimeters, which is a jewel, I think. How does that experience has brought you up to here? What has changed in you, Ryan? And also, Why did you decide to take this risk with Fire Trial Films? Because I think it's a big bet. But also after seeing Moon Garden, I mean, goddamn, we want to see more of that.
Yeah, you mentioned like Virus X. It was a movie I made right out of film school. I was hired by uh, a low budget, like a super low budget producer, David Sterling. He makes movies in like 3 days. You know, he does these like quick movies and rips them out. And yeah, it was a exploitation movie. I mean, I was the cinematographer, I was the director. I mean, it was just like right out of film school where I was just thrown into the fire, and it was shot in October and sold in February. It was so fast. It was just a speed train. But what that did was we actually shot on the Red. The Red had just come out, and I went to USC. We were the last class to shoot on film, right? We did all of our final projects on 16 millimeter. And then the Red camera came out. It was like this big digital revolution. I shot Virus X in like just no time, all digital workflow, and it just took a lot of the magic. It just sucked it out for me. Like, my mom had a dark room when I was growing up. I was really into cinematography. That was like something that was really near and dear to my heart. And then here was this camera where it was just like everything just was okay. You would get the image up, it was fine, and we would just shoot and move on. And it just kind of, robbed all of the mystery and all of it just so I vowed I would never do that again. the and Fire Trial was born out of a friendship that I had with a collaborator, filmmaking partner, John Elfers. I don't want to make this too much of a dark turn, but he recently passed away. He passed away he had just turned 40, and he was a filmmaking partner of mine. It was just him and I making movies at Fire Trial Films, all on 35 millimeter. We had bought a bunch of cameras, and so it was him and I doing this together. And so he would make a movie, then I would make a movie. The first movie we made was Finale. We shot it all on super 16 millimeter. Then from there, we've done a bunch of short films. We did a proof of concept before Moon Garden. We've done a couple music videos, which are, I'm just as proud of the music videos as anything else. I mean, they're just all shot on film and with total practical effects and just the kind of Fire Trial way that we want to do things. We've also shot different sequences for sci-fi films that were shot on film, and so we really wanted it to be a banner for film production, super 16 millimeter, 16 millimeter. I even love the idea of doing a film on Super 8 at some point. I mean, like, I just love the accident. I love the acidic quality of everything, chemicals. I just love the hand crafted nature of it. We actually shot some of Moon Garden so we shot most of Moon Garden on expired 35 millimeter film stock. So film stock from like the 80s and the 90s that had that Photochem had deemed unusable. And we actually got a bunch of clean film stock to finish the movie, and I ended up not liking it as much, just because it was so clean. I was like, why are we even shooting on this? Like, to me, the whole thing about giving it this aged, timeless quality. I always felt like Moon Garden was to be a movie that felt like it was discovered, like it was found somewhere, not like it was made today. Instead, it was like found in like a corner of an attic or something, and you just threw it up on a film reel, and here it was. Um, so to me, that's kind of what Fire Trial is doing things by hand from the ground up, and I feel like everything will kind of originate from that central idea. I don't see us shooting anything on an Alexa in front of a blue screen or a green screen. But you know, we're not Luddites. We're not against contemporary technology. It's just, to me, it always has to start from doing the thing. You know, whether it's like, for instance, there is a sequence that we shot on a blue screen in Moon Garden, but then I ended up not even keying it out. It's when she's on the cloud. So the blue screen just ended up being the night sky, and then we just filled it with smoke and atmosphere. And then for the wide shots, it was all stuff that we shot in a cloud tank, kind of like the Never-Ending Story with the nothing. And so we had all these elaborate cloud formations that we had shot practically. I mean, that was another thing. I didn't want to have no stock, nothing like that. If we needed an element of fog, I wanted to go out and shoot the fog, you know? If we needed a texture to throw over something, like, let's just make it. So to me, that's kind of what the whole thing about Fire Trial is getting your hands dirty and being a filmmaker that really wants to get in there. And so, yeah, but I miss my partner John to death, and I just wanted to give him certainly give him a shout out, because he was a big collaborative force in everything that we've been doing here. So yeah. Thank you for noticing about the 35 millimeter. Sounds like you did your research too,
Yeah.
especially bringing up
Yeah.
my buddy Virus X here. So yeah, which almost got me out of film entirely. I was like, why am I doing this? It's like video. So yeah, but
No, that's incredible. I mean, what it's incredible is that I think that the soul of a lot of movies are the practical effects and the thing that you just said, to do it, to do the stuff. So that's incredible. This interview is for Grupo Inframundo, but it is on the segment called Artists from the Underworld. So in this segment, we try to make these interviews to know about the film, to know about how did you do it, but also to inspire more people to make their nightmares or dreams come true. So by knowing that they can live about making these kind of films, dark fantasy, horror with special effects, animatronics, all that kind of stuff, because there is this kind of thing that sometimes the people think that you cannot make it real, but you are like an inspiration to see that this is real and you can do it. So I would love if you could give us like an advice for all the aspiring artists from the underworld, to that want to make like a dark fantasy, that want to make a movie, and that want to make these kind of dreams come true. So it would be incredible if you could give us an advice.
so the way that the best way I think to start making a movie is just to start building it. We started building Moon Garden in my one-car garage in Burbank, California. My one-car garage is where we shot the entire forest sequence. We shot it with miniatures, with camera tricks, but we just started building. And then as soon as that happened, it started attracting all of these artistic minds, all of these motivated artists. I mean, the actors wanted to get involved. Once there was something that we put to celluloid, then everybody was interested in what we were doing. So, there's a movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. I do think that if you just start, or you just set a date, hey, we're shooting Saturday. What are you doing Saturday? You'll be so surprised who will join you if you just start getting the train going. I know it's hard to get momentum. It's really hard to get momentum, and it's really hard to take that first dip into the pool. But as soon as you do, sometimes it snowballs, and then you'll roll down the other side of the mountain. So that would be to get something started. That would be my quickest advice, is to just start building it. Whether you start building sets, whether you start building miniatures, whether you start making costumes, just start doing something. Don't fiddle with your script for 4 years. Just get going. because you'll be rewriting the script as you go.
That's
To be like, why am I doing this when I have this at my disposal and it'll be so great? I had a whole sequence where this fax printer prints out in the groom sequence, the groom, and like does all this stuff. And I was like, why am I doing this when I have a whole I had just gutted a CRT TV, and I was like, why am I doing this when I could just have the whole thing on this CRT TV, feed it with a cable to an old DV camera that's filming the bride, and have them like he's dancing with the television, you know. When you start doing the thing, and if you're actually building the thing, then it becomes a dialogue with what you're doing almost, and you respond and you react and you change things, just like if you're doing a painting. Sometimes you don't know where it's going, you just start. And so that would be my my easiest advice as to how to get going. So yeah.
That's incredible. I think it's really inspirational. You are an inspiration for a lot of people, just as us. So it's incredible. Thank you very much, Ryan, for this interview. It was incredible. It was an incredible film. Thank you, Aaron, for being in the interview also.
My
And
pleasure, man.
and yeah, I remember, folks, the 26th of February, we will have on Shudder Moon Garden, so you can watch it on streaming anytime, anywhere, in the best horror streaming service in the USA and Canada, sometime in the world. We will have it.
Shudder.
But yeah,
Shudder on
Shudder.
February 26th, right?
February
Yeah.
26th. Yeah, that's
Brilliant.
right. That's right. Thank you very much, everyone watching this video. Have a nice day. That your dreams and
All
nightmares
right. Thank you,
come true.
Santiago. Thank you, Aaron. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you in the next interview, guys. Bye.